guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Callie, and it is currently the tundra here in the Midwest, so I definitely sound stuffed up and sick. That's because I am. So this weather is the bane of my existence. I have been sick for the past couple of days. Last week, both my husband and I had COVID. Zero symptoms when I had COVID. And now I'm testing negative and I have symptoms of a cold. So this is great. I digress. Today's video, as I'm sure you're aware based on the title of the video, is all the books I gave 5 stars in 2023. I read a lot of really good books. In 2023, a lot of new favorite authors, just new favorite series. I found a lot of really good books last year, and I'm going to go through all the ones I gave 5 stars. There are a lot here, so I'm not going to go too much into it. This is mainly just for funsies. This was in order of when I read them, but that Reese came in here and messed all up the order, and I can't find my old planner to find the order, so they're kind of... this isn't in any order. First one off the stack is A Sword from the Embers by Chloe C. Penaranda. This is book 5 in the Air Comes to Rise. In an Air Comes to Rise series. This is a not completed series, but I fell down this rabbit hole last December of 22, and right as I was finishing book 4, book 5 dropped, so I picked it up immediately on the Kindle, and I then met Chloe C. Penaranda, who is an amazing human being, and I adore her books. I read, I think, like 4 of them in 2023, and they were all like 4.5, either 4 and above, I'm pretty sure. This was the only 5-star that I read in 2023. I think I gave book 2 and 3 5 stars as well, but I read those in December of 22. But this is great for fans of Throne of Glass, ACOTAR. It is a great romantasy story. But again, it is not finished yet. We don't have a few things. We don't know how many books are going to be in the series or any dates. And what I really like about TJ Klune's writing is he really gets you hooked onto these characters. I'm a very character-driven reader, so I absolutely adored. There were tears. There were so many emotions. This was just an overall fantastic book. Up next, I have A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. I found my love for Megan Quinn in 2023, and it all started from this book. This one's super fun. It's a fake dating, fake engagement. The characters are super fun. We have our grumpy sunshine trope, just all the tropes that I adore in a contemporary romance. So, and I have the illustrated edition. Another romance that I fell in love with was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I've read Kennedy Ryan before, and I forgot how much of a punch she does to me emotionally. Not only is it great characters, but she always tells a very emotional and poignant story, touching on key issues that most people would shy away from, and that's what I love about her writing style. Back on the Megan Quinn train, I have a lot of... See, there's a whole thing about things that just fell. Keeping on the Megan Quinn train, I Have a Long Time Coming. This is a friends to lovers with a toxic mother-in-law situation, and just all of the fun, quirky things that I adore were in this book. I love a good friends to lovers. I know that most people don't, but this book has my whole heart. Another new author that I found and am now obsessed with is Mia Sheridan. I read Archer's Voice. I read this because I kept seeing clips of different quotes from this on TikTok, and I fell in love with them, and I was like, all right, I'll bite. And I read it, and my husband found me sobbing in our basement. So I loved this. I believe I have another Mia Sheridan book on this list that I'll get to later. More romance. I read a lot of romance in the beginning of the year. I have Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is my favorite in the Dreamland Billionaires series. It is also the thickest. But Cal was kind of this dark horse going into this book, so I was nervous I wasn't going to connect with him as I did with Rowan and Declan. But Callahan, again, very much like A Long Time Coming. We have a friends to lovers. There's also Second Chance. And Lauren Asher always brings in something emotional and gives her characters a lot of depth with their emotional journey, and sometimes even a physical recovery journey as well. Next book that I have on this list is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. I have been putting off this book for a long time, and I finally picked it up. I was finally in the right mood for it, and I think this book should be taught in all public schools for the rest of eternity. This is a great representation of racism and prejudice in the United States, along with police brutality and This covers a lot of topics very well, and it is extremely well written that gets you into the story as well as into the topics that it discusses. My other Mia Sheridan book, I have Travis, which is a companion novel to Archer's Voice. This actually had just dropped right when I finished Archer's Voice, so I was able to pick it up immediately. And you know, it's a testament to the writing when you give me a character who I hated in Archer's Voice, and then I fell in love with him and gave the book 5 stars because I loved his story. Great writing. Next, I have Death by Laura Thalassa. This is the final book in the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse series that Laura Thalassa has, and I finally picked it up last year, and it was a lot more fun than I anticipated. And not only was it more fun, death was really poignant, and I just adored how this story progressed and how it tied all the other 4 horsemen into this story as well near the end, and we got our big overarching storyline that I always love in companion series such as these. Next, I have This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. Tahereh Mafi is one of my favorite authors, and I picked up her new fantasy series. So, funny story about this, I picked this up after These Infinite Threads dropped, like almost right away. Because in my brain, I thought this was a duology. So I was like, perfect, I'll read this one, and then I have the second one reared and ready to go. It is not a duology, fun fact. So I'm going to be rereading this probably sometime this year. But I love this story. It is so colorful and tangible. The way that Tahereh writes her surroundings as well as her character descriptions is so beautiful. And they leap off the page. I love the relationships. I love the plot. I love the magic. This is, follows Jinn, which is, I'm seeing more and more of Jinn plot lines. And I really love that because there's so much lore and there's so much just beautiful atmosphere around the myths of the Jinn. And I've adored almost every single book I've come across. I read a lot of romance in 2023, and I won't apologize for that. Next, I have Redeemed by Lauren Asher. I don't know what it is with Lauren Asher series finales or companion series finales, but this is the 4th book in her Dirty Air series, which is the race car series. And this follows Santiago and Chloe. Again, Lauren Asher is fantastic at writing these heartbreaking topics in such a way that adds to the romance and adds to the characters to make them feel like real people. It is phenomenally well done. I shed so many tears. I loved Santi's story, and Chloe is just so perfect for him. I loved everything about this. Yours truly by Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez has become one of my favorite romance authors. I finished her entire backlog this year and read her brand new book, which was Yours Truly. And this is definitely my favorite one to date by Abby Jimenez. The way that she portrays anxiety, depression, and mental illness in general is phenomenally done. It is done in a way where you can understand the character, you are in their head, and you get them. And I loved how this went from almost like cute little pen pals to this blossoming, beautiful romance. And Abby Jimenez always has an animal in one of her stories, and I greatly appreciate it so much. I love a good just animal friend companion to bring a couple closer together. Next, I have a poetry collection, and that is Break Your Glass Slippers by Amanda Lovelace. Amanda Lovelace is one of my favorite poets. She writes really well from the perspective of being a woman in today's society by taking things that were shoved down girls' throats when we were younger. So a lot of them have to do with fairy tales, twisting them on their head to explain and portray what it is like to be a woman in our world today. And I absolutely adore. I finished these in like 40 minutes. They are so consuming, and her writing and poetry is just so beautiful. I tab the crap out of them, and I love it, every single page. Up next, I have Flawless by Elsie Silver, another romantasy author I found this year. She writes these really fun cowboy romances, and I finished this series this year. And my favorite was by far the first one, Flawless, and I really liked the characters. The plotline was super fun. It was something very new to me, so I just had a great time reading this. I'm 99% sure I have loved every single Ali Hazelwood book that she has come out with. Love Theoretically that came out in 2023. No exception. This one was way more character-driven than romance-driven, if that makes sense. Like, it was still definitely a romance, but we're more focusing on the characters themselves. And as you can see, a theme with all the books that I like, really character driven, really well written characters, and Ellie Hazelwood is great at that. And I don't care that some people think that she is a copy paste author with just different tropes. I will eat it up every single time because her characters are always so good. Up next, I have Shout by Laurie Halse Anderson. This is another poetry collection, but this one's done in a narrative way. This tells the author's story of being a sexual assault survivor, and it tells her story of going through the assault and mainly the aftermath of how she was treated once it came out about the assault. This is a big proprietor of the Me Too movement, and it took a lot of courage to be able to write this book. I know she said she had this written after it had happened and after everything, but she just couldn't publish it because no one wants to hear that story. But she was wrong. So many people want to hear these kinds of stories because they're important for women to not feel alone. Not even just women, for people not to feel alone being assault survivors. I know a lot of her passages hit home for me, and I was able to connect immensely to everything she was saying. I have two left, and they are two of probably what I would say is probably the top two most popular books of 2023, and that is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross and Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I adored these two books. They are definitely some of my top books of the entire year. These two tied for my favorite book of the entire year. I think Divine Rivals ended up winning. Like I said, I can't find my planner, and I have this little bracket system so I can find the top book of the year. It was one of these two. I can tell you that for a fact. It was one of these two. I loved everything. Divine Rivals takes what feels like World War I-esque romance, but throw that atmosphere into a fantasy setting where instead of countries fighting in World War I, it is gods fighting, and they are essentially throwing people at each other. Fascinating story, and I have Ruthless Vows. I just haven't touched it because I'm terrified. If you haven't heard about Fourth Wing yet, you should. Fourth Wing is a Dragon Rider romantasy series. The second book just recently came out, Iron Flame. I think it's supposed to be a 5-book series. I have the first edition sprayed edges because I have Zero Chill. Actually, I only bought this because of the sprayed edges. I had no idea that this was going to blow up, but I think the week after I had bought Fourth Wing, it blew up, and everyone was saying that everywhere was sold out with the dragon sprayed edges, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll read it. So I prioritized it and read it, fell in love with it. I am really intrigued as to where the story is going to go, and I'm just super happy that Fourth Wing exists. So these are my 5-star reads of 2023. I would say I had a really good reading year. I am very picky about how I give my 5 stars, so this is actually a lot comparatively. I've been reading a lot more that I love. I've been finding more authors that I'm falling in love with, and I'm having a really good time with the romance, with the fantasy, science fiction. I'm delving a lot more into that this year, as well as historical fiction and historical romance. So I'm really excited to see what 2024 will bring to this list. So that's gonna be it for today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We post twice a week, and I will see you guys in our next video. Bye!